evening. I hope that your weekend was great. And I am happy to be back to talk a little baseball today. And of course, this is the April the 6th, 2026 edition of This Day in Black Baseball, the conversation that started way back in June that has not stopped. And so hopefully you're still learning something and enjoying these broadcasts as they come forward. I know I certainly am. So I do want to bring some new information to you tonight. And so I guess what I used to wait about a minute to see if anybody joins, and then from there I go and start talking to baseball. So, wow, I'm just trying to think tonight. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to give you a preview of what we have coming up. So we have the Page Fish Giants. I'm going to talk about. Then I'm going to talk about a guy by the name of Tom Granum. And then I'm going to jump over to a guy named Charles Neas. Then I jump over to Saul White and Home Run Johnson. It's Pete Hill. I'm going to talk a little bit about Pat Doherty. Who else am I going to talk about? Oh, I guess that's enough. I'm going to jump over to Fort Wayne and talk a little bit about some things up in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Of course, then I'm going to jump back to Frank Duncan of the Chicago American Giants. And then I think I'll end up with something on Roberto Clemente. So hopefully that's enough for you. So if you guys are ready, I will go ahead and get started. Now remember the drill. If you are listening to these lives here and you like what's going on, if you're a baseball fan, maybe you're not even a baseball fan, maybe you just love Americana, by all means subscribe so that you'll know when I'm coming on. All right. And that will help me because it's always nice to be talking to someone when you're doing it live. Otherwise, I can just go ahead and just do videos. But it's a whole different kind of thing when you come live because you've got to come straight with information. And sometimes you're responding to people, but you're off the cuff. So a lot of this is not scripted. What is scripted is my little baseball facts that I'm giving you that I've accumulated over the last 30 years, and some of them are pretty unique. So that is the thing that is scripted. What I tell you around those facts is not scripted. So sometimes I don't even know what I'm going to say. It's just what pops in my mind. And because I've been doing this for 46 years, I never know what's going to enter my mind. So, guys, if you're a baseball fan, if you just enjoy Negro League history, if you don't know anything about Negro League history, but you'd like to learn more, especially in these times when the world seems to be against this history, this is a good place to be. All right. So once again, if you join and you want to put a comment in, let me know where you're commenting from, because believe it or not, I might have been there. Okay. So this is Phil Dixon, and I'm a baseball historian, and I'll plug my books later on. I have many of them out there on the market. Okay. Someone said, I'm the only one watching this stream. Well, I tell you what, there's 13 more people that you haven't seen, but someone did give me a thumbs up. Hey, but if it's only one and you're the one, I'm okay with that, right? Because you're here because maybe you found something that you liked, all right? So, yeah, and people come in and out all the time. I understand that it can be tough to come in and spend 20 minutes, especially you don't know what the person's talking about and you've never followed me before. You have no idea when the information I'm delivering. Maybe you're not even a baseball fan, right? Maybe you don't even know what the Negro League was. So anyway, but let me give you a little history here, and let me give you a couple of facts, and then maybe that'll clue you in. All right. So we're going to go back to April 6th, 1895, and the Page Finch Giants. They're out of Adrian, Michigan. They kicked off their season in Marion, Indiana, with a 21-1 victory over the local Cyclones team. And the Giants picked up 15 hits that day, and one of the hits went into the books, the record books, is a home run for Grant Johnson. Grant Home Run Johnson, the person who originally had the nickname Home Run. Now, when I was coming along, following American National League history, just reading books like these and other books, right? And they talked about Home Run Baker. But believe me, Home Run Baker didn't have that name first. And he didn't have that name legitimately. The most legitimate person to ever own that name was Grant Home Run Johnson out of Findlay, Ohio. And so I think a lot about this guy because he was just a superb player, a great shortstop, a great hitter, a great manager. He was all sorts of things, and we need to remember him. So Grant Home Run Johnson, like to start off with him. All right, and then I'm going to jump over to Nebraska, April 6, 1903. All right, and an advertisement in the Omaha-based Evening World Herald, placed by a guy by the name of Tom Granham, said he is seeking 11 colored ball players at once. That means immediately for something he was doing. I searched and searched and searched, could not find anything on this guy, what he was doing. And he said that he can be reached in Rising, Nebraska. So I searched on Rising, Nebraska. I did everything I could to find out who is this guy that's trying to get these, what they call colored baseball players back in 1903. Well, he was pretty determined to get those ball players. So he actually, in the same advertisement, appeared in the Lincoln, Nebraska store under mail help. So he so he was looking for, and it was the same thing, 11 colored ball players at once. I need them now, immediately, right? So they would advertise, and once again, I'm probably gonna have to go check the census to find out if this is a white guy, a black guy, but a place called Rising, Nebraska. I may even have to call the local historical society and get the bead on this guy, because I'm always curious who these people were, and maybe they were like they could have been an advanced agent, could have been working for someone else who was putting a team together, and that's how I tie all this history together. All right, so his name was Tom Garham. Garham. All right. So let's jump over to April 6, 1904, and then I'm going to recognize some of you people who've come in here. Okay. So Charles Nees, Neas, that's how he spells his name, who pitched such great ball for the Chicago Columbia Giants and the Philadelphia Giants, is the latest to sign a contract with the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania-based Smoky City Giants, and that was in 1904. And he is considered to be the equal of any African American pitcher in baseball. And it was quite a chore trying to get his signature on a contract. And also, they're trying out two college catchers, one by the name of Carter and the other one named by Hall. Hall last name, never could figure out their first names. And they're two college catchers who come highly recommended by good judges of baseball talent, and have been signed and will be given a trial. So that's the Smoky City Giants. I can give you a lot on those guys. One of my favorite players, a guy by the name of Nate Harris, played for the Smoky City Giants. He ended up with the Philadelphia Giants, and then he went on, played with the Chicago Leland Giants. Of course, he played with the Chicago Giants, Frank Leland's team, in 1910. So that is a guy that I know played for the Smoky City Giants, and he did go on to big time. So I couldn't find much on Charles Nees. So once again, guys, the work just keeps on going. It's like every time I dig, I have to dig some more, because I'm always running across names, and I like saying these names. I speak their names into existence in this era so that they are not forgotten. All right. I write them in books so they're not forgotten. That's kind of what I do. So, all right, then. So we've got some people here. Let's see. Somebody says they're joining. Okay. Now, where are you guys joining from? Give me an idea where you're joining from. You can have a state or city, and just somebody put something in there. Just let me know where you're joining from. That's always interesting. Okay. And we got a few people. I usually don't call out the names of the people, but I do see somebody said Lincoln, Nebraska. Is there at Lincoln, Nebraska? That's kind of interesting, because I just mentioned the Lincoln, Nebraska Star newspaper, right? So hey, you got good timing, man. You're right in here on time, right? So yeah, so we're getting some stars and everything and some hearts. Appreciate that. Okay, so you ready for me to go to the next fact? I can do that. All right. So how about April 6, 1905? And I've written an entire book about this team, the 1905 Philadelphia Giants, who were simply amazing. An amazing team, guys. And so I think I think they won 132 games and lost 21 games that season. Really good team. Had the great Bill Monroe playing for them. Grant Home Run Johnson was playing for them. Rube Foster, Pete Hill. Oh man, they had a great team there. So I like talking about that team and writing about them, because they're pretty exciting to write about too. And how about this? They were the first team that I know of that scored 1,000 runs in a season. And they did this before the National and the American League teams did this because they achieved that feat in 1905. The Yankees were the first one to score over 1,000 runs, and that was in the 1930s. So just know that these guys were professionals. Talking about the Philadelphia Giants that were great. So April 6, 1905, Saul White's Philadelphia Giants thumped Newark of the Eastern League. Now, the Eastern League was one step under the American and National League. So it was like a AAA organization, right? So they beat them in a 5-3 final at Inlet Park in Atlantic City. Inlet Park in Atlantic City. That was where everybody played when they went to Atlantic City. And how about this? Remember the guy I was talking about, Grant Home Run Johnson? How about this? He hit 2 home runs in that game against, supposed to be superior competition. They were just schoolboys to him because this guy could really hit. So he had a couple of home runs against them. And of course, Emmett Bowman, who was a great pitcher, won 40 games that year. He was the winning pitcher in that game. So these are guys that don't get talked about enough. But I will say this, and I've said it many times. I was part of the group that merged the statistics. And when we merged those statistics, what was really important, guys, is that it helped to bring recognition to these players that simply weren't getting the love that they should have been getting because history tried to make them semi-professional or less than the stars of the American National League. And you can see by some of the results here that that was not the case, all right? Okay, so let's go here. Let me give you this one here. If I can work it out here, let me see. Okay, I'm almost finished. I just got to move a few things around here. Okay, so April 1913, Pete Hill and Candy Jim Taylor, I've been talking about him a lot lately, and Bill Gatewood hit home runs in the American Giants 17-7 win over Seattle of the Pacific Coast League. Now, keep in mind, Seattle is a AAA organization also. So you just saw Home Run Johnson and those guys beating Newark, which was a AAA organization in 1905. Then you come to 1913, they're still beating these guys, right? And this is the sad part about baseball history, the history that I grew up with. And many people are still getting this history, right? And it doesn't give these great African American ball players their just due. And so you look here, Pete Hill. Pete Hill, in my estimation, had as many hits as Ty Cobb. So this guy, I believe, had over 4,000 hits. I'm trying my best to write as much as I can to prove it. Candy Jim Taylor, I think he should be in the Hall of Fame, right with Pete Hill, who is in the Hall of Fame. Candy Jim Taylor was an outstanding developer of talent, had almost a 40-plus year career in baseball and can't get any love. And then Bill Gatewood, this guy was supposedly have thrown about 8 no-hitters, right? And I've been able to find many of those no-hitters, but I can't find them all, but I will eventually, right? And so Bill Gatewood threw the first no-hitter in the Negro National League. But he was also a pretty good hitter. And of course, he passed away in Columbia, Missouri. He was living down in Moberly. And I've presented in both of those cities and had the opportunity to talk about him. One of these days, I'll have to go to the cemetery and visit his gravesite when I'm in Columbia, right? So they beat Seattle, the Pacific Coast League. Now, here's an interesting fact. Okay, you guys still with me? You're still with me? Give me a few hearts. Let me know that you're out there, all right? Because sometimes people are listening and you don't know, right? So just give me a few hearts. Just let me know. And by all means, guys, if you like these kind of broadcasts and it's not boring you, by all means, go ahead and share the broadcast, right? You can share it after I'm finished today. It's a live broadcast, but I'll put it back up and you can share it. Okay, so let's go to April 1914, and the Tacoma team, Tacoma, Washington, out on the West Coast of the Northwest League. They scored 5 runs off Pat Doherty, the American Giants star southpaw, in 4 innings and defeated the Chicago American Giants by a 7-4 score. And during the game, Doherty complained, and this is according to the Spokane Review newspaper, of a bad arm. His arm was hurting him. and he was relieved by a guy by the name of Lee Wade in the fourth inning. Now, this is important to know this because this is Doherty's last year, and he has to retire because of his arm, right? So I don't know if it was something was torn in his arm or whatever it was, but whatever injury he had, he's definitely had an injury. So you're seeing the end of a great career. And you go back, this guy was one of superb lefties in 1910. Man, he was lights out. I wrote about him in this book here, the Chicago American Giants. Um, Great teams, 1910. And this is the 400-page book. So I know a little bit about Pat Doherty, but I also know that he started to suffer from arm problems, and that was the end of his career. So I would rate him as one of the all-time lefties from Negro League Baseball. I would put him right up there with George Wilson of the old Patriots Giants, and who else? I'd certainly put him up there with Andy Cooper, who pitched many years in the Negro National League. John Donaldson. He was Doherty was famous before Donaldson was, and Doherty was just as good as Donaldson. And I think Doherty probably faced harder competition than Donaldson did day in and day out. And so I don't know if they ever actually battled against each other, but I certainly know that they were both good left-handed pitchers. So those are some of the guys I'd like to mention. Ray Brown was another good one. His career was kind of short, but Doherty's was too. And I think the big knock on Doherty is because he has such a short run, maybe 1909 to 1914, that it's a tough to make a case for him to be in the Hall of Fame. Okay, but he was awfully good pitcher, and so I like to say the name Pat Doherty. All right, and okay, so let's go where we got here. Okay. All right, let's go. And I like to say these names, and I have to mention these names because, I can mention Josh Gibson and Satchel Paige. You know those names, right? But there's other names to mention that you usually don't hear about. So I'm going to go to April 6, 1916. And according to the Fort Wayne Journal Gazette, there are no baseball bugs in the world who take the game of baseball more seriously than the colored folks. Did you know that? This is what they're writing in 1916. Is it the same now? Kind of wonder, right? Kind of wonder. And I know for me, I've always taken the game seriously, but back then they said nobody takes the game more serious than colored folks, right? And so with that, they decided to organize a new team in Fort Wayne. They're going to call them the Fort Wayne Colored Giants. And the team will be under the manager of L.B. Dupree, and will include the following players. So I'm going to say their names, all right? It's going to be George Wilson, William Davis, Johnny Suggs, Venice Williams, Obie Edwards, Howard Paxton, Arthur Cooper, Everett Lamb, Emery Sin Taylor, that's a different name, Roy Smith, Howard Weekly, Robert Spencer, Leo Manuel, Donald Phillips, Robert Manning, and Charles Hawkins will be the manager and the second baseman. Hey, I just spoke some names out there, guys, and I'm going to do more research, as I always do, to see who these people are. And I'm always running into people, and they say, hey, my great-grandfather or my grandfather, somebody played baseball. Or they'll say he played in the Negro League. Really, he didn't play in the Negro League, but he played baseball. And everybody thinks, oh, if you played on a black team, you're in the Negro League. No, that's not correct. However, I run into that all the time. So just know that I like saying these names because someone is a descendant of those names, and they might appreciate hearing those names again. All right. So let's see. We're almost finished here, guys. And once again, if you're joining me, let me know where you're joining from, right? And remember, I'm going for 755 subscribers. I always pick up a few every time I come on. And so I'm coming on at the same time. I may have to vary my time and come earlier because it seems like I never know who's going to join, right? So, all right, so let's go. We got two more facts, and then I'll be out of here about 22 minutes total. Okay, so April 6, 1915, Foster's Chicago American Giants collected 20 hits. Man, that's a lot of hits in the game. 4 by Frank Duncan. Out of Macon, Georgia. Great player. Now, I can make a great argument for Frank Duncan being in the Hall of Fame too. This guy, now there's two Frank Duncans, so we're talking about Frank Duncan, the outfielder, played with the American Giants and teams prior to 1920, not the Frank Duncan, the catcher from Kansas City. So, and in this particular game, every batter in the lineup had at least one hit in an 8-1 victory over the Victoria Club in the Northwest League. And so they're back up in the Northwest at Victoria, Washington. And then I did make a note that Louis Santop's double and Bill Francis' home run figured in the win. Louis Santop is in the Hall of Fame, and Bill um, Francis was a great third baseman, one of the Spur guys, and he died pretty early. But Bill Francis was a great player who played with Ruth Foster. Started off with actually, I want to say. I know he played for the Philadelphia Giants, but I think I picked him up with a team in 1905, even before that. So I just can't remember which team it is right now. But yeah, so somebody said, hello from Yukistan. Man, that's a long ways. Do you have baseball there? That's what I'm curious. I don't know the answer to that. So, man, that's a long ways. I haven't traveled there, I could tell you that. So, hopefully I pronounced that country name correctly, right? Okay, I've got one more fact for a baseball fact, and that is April the 6th, 1973. I remember this. I was a senior in high school, all right? And actually, I would have been a junior at this particular point, but on my way to be a senior, because we hadn't graduated yet, the 11th grade. So, but April the 6th, 1973, the National League Pittsburgh Pirates retired Roberto Clemente's number 21. Yeah, number 21. That was a great Roberto Clemente who died trying to help people after an earthquake. And I think it was in Honduras, if I'm correct. I could be wrong on that. It's been a number of years. I haven't looked it up lately. But of course, he did definitely die in an airplane crash right around New Year's Day, because I remember we used to have a newspaper subscription, and I would pick it up and read the sports every day, read the sports every day. And actually, I used to read two things in the newspaper religiously. It would be the sports and the funnies. I read those all the time. And a lot of the other part, I just went past that, right? Catch a few advertisements, but I always read the funnies and the sports. I know, so I know maybe someone else did that too, but yeah. So Roberto Clemente's number 21 was retired, right? I'm trying to think if there's any other famous player with the number 21 that has had their number retired with any team. I'm trying to think. Help me out, somebody. Well, I tell you what, probably someone in the replay will pick that up, and I guess I could search that and find out. But I don't know if anyone. Nothing comes to mind real quickly, but yeah, I can't think of anyone else off the top of my head. But there's probably someone with a number 21, another 21 that is retired, number 21. So, guys, if you pick this on the replay, by all means, go ahead and put that information in. Help me, and then I will actually search that when I get out. Actually, I could search it now. Let me search it now and see if there's anyone who's had the number 21 that is retired from baseball. So can somebody beat me to it or what? Let me see if I can get there quickly. Let's see. Okay. Okay, let me see if I can get it here. So we're going to go, what players wore number 21 and had their number retired in baseball? Let's see what we come up with, all right? That's one thing about live. You can do the stuff in real time, right? And so let's see. Okay. Oh, it's popped up a bunch of them. Hey, I'm learning. This is what it says. Major League Baseball, the number 21 has been retired 4 times. So they said Roberto Clemente, 73, but Warren Spahn, left-handed pitcher, 1965. Then it said Bob Lemon with the Cleveland Guardians, but of course, 1998, they were the Cleveland Indians, and he was a right-handed pitcher. and he had his number retired in 1998. And then they mentioned Paul O'Neill of the New York Yankees. A right fielder had his number retired, his number 21 retired in 2022. All right. So, all right then. Well, I guess that answered my own question. So I know the rest of the story, as Paul Harvey used to say, and now you know the rest of the story. So this has been Phil Dixon with another edition of This Day in Black Baseball History. Hopefully we've learned something together, and I invite you to come back and we can dig a little deeper. And I might try to do this a little more often, kind of get the answer to questions right there. Okay. So thank you guys. And I'm out of here. And by all means, if you pick up this broadcast later on, by all means, subscribe. If you like what's going on here, if you want to be a part of the community, go ahead and do that. And we will keep this conversation going. And my goal, ultimate goal, is to reach 1,000 subscribers in a year. And I'm probably going to hit that goal. But of course, it's a step-by-step process. And so right now, I'm going for the Hank Aaron number 755. Man, I'm knocking at the door. I'm with less than 10 subscribers away. So you guys can be one of those. So if you like this, be sure and go back. Now we just talked about how many players who wore number 21 had their number retired, right? Just mentioned that, and we turned out to be four. I mentioned Roberto Clemente, but then there were three others, guys, and so I just gave you the answer to that. So anyway, go back and listen to the broadcast, and you'll learn about a lot of baseball here. Baseball is spoken here. That's what I'll say. Thank you, guys, and have a nice evening, and I'll see you real soon. This is Phil Dixon with today's edition of April the 6th, 2026, This Day in Black Baseball History.